At the heart of the city, the Jacobin is the ideal place for the parade that precedes the spectacle. It's a discreet parade, almost silent. The engines are cold, these beasts are sleeping. Much remarked upon is the four-wheel drive Porsche, an extrapolation for the track of the model that starred in Paris-Dakar. Alongside Claude Ballot-Lena, René Mech will drive it. I was quite surprised to see that the suspension and gearbox are exactly the same as on the Dakar model. The engine has something as it's nearly 700 horsepower. The model on the Dakar was about 400. As for the weather, the race director is a little worried.
Nous espérons que ces 24 heures se passeront sous le soleil et non pas sous la pluie. Je pense que nous aurons un temps assez clément pour l'ensemble du week-end.
And in the end, the weather was good. Among the competitors, a newcomer, Nissan, the fourth world constructor of Group 1 cars. With Mazda and Toyota, the Japanese have understood the vital interest of endurance events. Two returns, Mercedes with Henri Pescarolo as their star driver, Yves Saint Laurent as a supporter, and Peter Sauber for the technical preparation. Also here, Jaguar, who have just won the 1,000 kilometers of Silverstone. Three works Porsches at the start with experienced drivers, and they're not superstitious at all. Yves Courage and a Cougar with a Porsche engine. Three groups, that is to say, three races within a race. C1 for 850 kilo prototypes, as big an engine as you like, but with consumption limited to 2,250 litres for 24 hours. There are 29 of them at the start. C2, minimum weight 700 kilos, 1,650 litres of fuel for the duration, and there are 16 of these cars. And then a few IMSA GTP or GTXs. In total, 50 cars. Something the competitors appreciate is that their quarters are much bigger, a real village of caravans, tents, and above all, workshops. All these cars and drivers qualified on Wednesday and Thursday. The best time was posted by Jochen Mass in the Works Porsche number 2, ahead of Stuck in the Porsche number 1. Both at 248 kilometers an hour, but with engines that were really going for it. Let's call it a psychological advantage. The crowd is very international, just like the drivers and the cars, and anyone can purchase for themselves a very faithful replica car. As with any serious soap opera, let's have a look back at the preceding editions. And here are some of the actors from the 53 previous Le Mans. It's a way of appreciating the fantastic progress made in 60-odd years of competition, progress that has had an impact on everyday road cars. Some consider Le Mans to be incomplete without people in attire maybe more suited to the beaches of Deauville. As for TV, a huge effort has been made as this rondo is kitted out with a live camera. The beauty's with the beast, and what a beast this car is. The world champion in C2, the Pontiac with a Ford Cosworth engine. The drivers, Gordon Spice and Ralph Belm. Three Jaguars are at the start, but also three Rondos, the 45, the 47 and the 102. Jean Rondeau has left us, but his name and work lives on at Le Mans. The Cabriolet 205 is too low for the spectators to see it well. The question of the day, are the two Kouros Mercedes and the three Jaguars capable of ending Porsche's reign? That's the key to the 1986 edition. We still need the flag, and here it is, on its way. In a few seconds' time, away they'll go for the warm-up lap, 2 by 2 behind the race director's car. Pole position is filled by the Porsche number 2 of Jochen Mass, who wins the Jean Rondeau Trophy for the quickest driver in qualifying. But at the wheel of the two at the start, it's Bob Volek, the other driver, with Stuck alongside him in the number 1. And here's the new Mulsanne, modified because of a new road layout. It's a double right-hander, very open for the first corner, and then the same angle as the old corner for the second. As a consequence, 92 meters have been shaved off the circuit, and it now measures 13.528 kilometers. This is the moment you cannot afford to miss. Of all the images of the race, this is the one that will stick in the mind. What a start too, as they're 4 abreast with 200 meters covered. A pack of 6 at Mulsanne, the Porsche of Ludwig leading. On the first lap, the Porsche of Just Racing, driven by Ludwig, pulls away. Behind, it's close, the Jaguars of Warwick and Haier, and the Porsches of Stuck and Volek. Already a stop for the Cougar of Rafanel, Courage and de Cadenet. A door has come off. The mechanics need 5 hours to sort out a new door from aluminium, and then the 13 can move off again. Leading, the Jaguar Porsche duel is happening. But in the first hour, the Kouros Mercedes have a bad run, and that ruins their victory chances. First of all, it's Pescarolo who stops at Mulsanne. The radiator is leaking in the 62. 1 hour 25 of repairs there, and then a further 20 minutes in the pits, and the podium hopes have gone. The leading Porsches, Ludwig, Barilla and Winter, are going at quite a pace, 227 kilometers an hour on average in the first hour. And why not, as the competitors are allowed 15% more fuel than last year. Happiness for some, misery for the Kouros Mercedes. The second car is hanging on, and then at 9:40 in the evening, it's out with a broken engine. Pescarolo and Dana hang on until 11 in the evening. So it's goodbye to Mercedes, and we'll see you next year. In C2, it's a tight fight between the Spice Pontiac that's leading and the Gebhardt of Dickens, de Toisy and Yvonne that soon robs them of top spot. In In the lead, the fight continues between the 7 Ludwig, Barilla and Winter and the 2 Works Porsches Mass and Volek and Stuck, Bell and Holbert, followed by 3 Jaguars. That's 6 cars covered by under 2 laps. But Jaguar will lose the 52 in silly fashion as it runs out of fuel. Porsche lose their 3rd Works car. So 2 Jaguars against 2 Works Porsches, an equal fight in theory. The Japanese are struggling with the pace of the race. They're already 5 or 6 laps back, and they all abandoned during the night, apart from one. Have faith in them, though, as the Japanese constructors will have learned from this experience. At Tertre Rouge, something always happens. For the Porsche 962C of Schuppen and Olsen, it's the beginning of the end. Of the 3 Works Porsches, it was the only one kitted out with a semi-automatic gearbox. In 2 hours, the 3 definitively disappears from the standings. On the other hand, the Jaguar of Warwick, Cheever and Schlesser is right up there, around a lap back from the 3 leading Porsches. The Porsche family are fighting it out. The Works cars certainly don't want to be beaten like last year by a private entrant. It was Just, and having won in 1984 and 1985, Just dream of making it 3 in a row. With the same lineup as last year, the 956 looks capable of withstanding the Works machines. The anti-Porsche coalition is down to Jaguar with the 51 above all. A team of stars with 2 F1 drivers, Eddie Cheever and Derek Warwick, plus an endurance specialist, Jean-Louis Schlesser. Its bodywork in fiberglass and Kevlar is very resistant and very light, and a V12 6-litre engine that develops 630 horsepower at 7,000 revs.
Mercedes numéro 61 repart.
In 4 hours of racing, it's never been more than 2 laps behind the leading car. At quarter distance, the situation up front is undecided with a furious intra-Porsche battle, the 1, 2 and 7, followed some way back by the 2 Jaguars. The average speed at the front is over 224 kilometers an hour. The race is over for the Nissan Hoshino, who last year won the 1,000 kilometers of Mount Fuji. The gearbox loses its oil, but Nissan still have a car out there, the number 32. The Dome Toyota is doing more than just taking part. With a cosmopolitan lineup, the Swede Elg, the Italian Gabbiani and the Japanese Suzuki, it even manages to get up to 7th at one point. It's a pity it didn't finish. Faithful to Le Mans over the last 10 years, here are Peugeot with the Peugeot Vortis WM, prepared by Denis Mathieu, and drivers who know the circuit in Daniel Rollet and Michel Pignard, 9 entries each, and François Migaud, who is here for the 15th time. It's not without emotion that we see the Porsche 962C for the final time. It's prepared by the Kramer brothers and it's always been in the top 10. Its destiny has been sorted out, and at 3 in the morning with Joe Gartner at the wheel, it hits trouble at the Uno Dier. It's nearly midnight. The situation at the front hasn't changed, with the 7, 1 and 2 up front. Standings that move a lot as it's a huge fight. The average speed is still fantastic. 222 for the first two and 221 for Volek and Mass. That's in kilometers an hour. At 1/3 distance, there are 35 cars left and the gaps are building. The Nissan is 23 laps back. The 21 is 44 laps back. There were 3 works Porsches at the start, but soon there'll only be 1 left. The 2 will be eliminated stupidly as it goes off. And here's the irony, it's at the Porsche curve. The Porsche 956 of Ludwig doesn't see the sun come up at the circuit either, but it had at least left its mark on the race by going really fast, to the great delight of the spectators. This other Porsche has more luck and finishes 9th. Another Porsche 956, the drivers Lessig, Balabio and Wood, and they'll finish 5th. The 24 hours is also this, a party. And every spectacle needs an interval. While the party happens in the village, on the track, a tragedy. At 3:14 in the morning, the Porsche 962C of Kramer, driven by Joe Gardner, disintegrates on Uno Dier after the suspension breaks. At nearly 250 kilometers an hour, the man from Vienna had no chance of coming out of that. The pace cars came out to slow things down while the safety barriers were restored. The average speed falls, but safety is the priority for the organisers. 2 hours 30 at a slow pace is torture for the engines and the teams, and the Porsche of Ludwig, Barilla and Winter doesn't come through it as the oil pressure drops. It overheats and has to abandon. As for the works Porsches, they decided to stop the one as soon as the race was neutralised in order to enrich the injection, and the flat 6 engine lasted out as the temperature fell. Well played by Porsche here, for 20 years of experience at Le Mans paying off. At 2/3 distance, Stuck, Bell and Holbert are alone out in front. The Jaguar of Warwick is second, 8 laps down, with the Porsche of Larori, Paja and Guya on its heels. In C2 is the Gebhardt of Harrower that leads from the URD number 90 of Winter and Mercer. There are 26 cars left. No luck for the Scots, who were 12th at one point on distance and leading in C2. No luck either for the 4x4 of Ballolena and Metsch, but they would get going again. Six Porsches in the 7 leading positions and the Jaguar of Warwick in second place. Does the 51 have a chance of winning, or at least finishing? Well, sadly, no. At 8:35 in the morning, Jean-Louis Schlesser abandons. The Frenchman spoke about what worked and didn't work with the Jaguar. What worked was the engine and the gearbox. What didn't work, well, we had a tyre blow. We must have hit some debris on the track from previous accidents. On another car, the fuel pump went, and on the other it was the cardan shaft. They are little problems. We were very well placed and we were second. And that's to sum up our problems. We were competitive. We were following the Porsche train for our first participation at Le Mans.
Par contre, il s'est avéré qu'on était très compétitif, puisqu'on a suivi le train des Porsche pour notre première participation au Mans.
A distinction mark to Nissan, who finished 10th on distance, also to the Dome Toyota in 8th. But the exploit was that of Courage, de Cadenet and Raffanel. Having been immobilized for 5 hours and getting going again with an 800-kilometer handicap, they managed to figure in the final standings in 18th place. Without the door problems, they would have stood a chance of finishing in the top 7. Behind Bell and Stuck, things are being sorted out. The Porsche number 17 of Brand Motorsport, Larari, Parja and Gouye, is still a solid second. The 33, currently 4th, is the Spanish duo of Villota and Velez. And they have but one objective. That's trying to get ahead of the 8, the second Porsche Kramer, and into second place, and they don't manage it. Together here, they're actually separated by 14 laps, around about 190 kilometers. Surely enough to be serene and relaxed. In fact, not a bit of it. In the cockpit and in the pits, the minutes are long. To go from triumph to despair doesn't take much. There are still 2 rondos left from 3, and they'll both finish in a fine homage to the man who came up with them. The Spice Pontiac will also be classified 19th and last, but given 50 started, that's not bad. Among the spectators are Jean-Pierre Jousseau, the winner in 1978 with Didier Pironi, and in 1980 with Rondet. It's great. With Didier, we aim for 340 to 345 per lap. They were our calculations. We knew that if we did that, then we'd be sure to win, and that's what happened. In order to be victorious here, they'll need to be at 330 to 335. So it took 8 years for 10 seconds a lap to be gained. The Works Porsche won the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and despite the race being neutralized for 2.5 hours, it managed 4,972 kilometers at 207 kilometers an hour. The second car of the Kramer brothers, with the drivers Vollmer, Morton and Miller, is third, 13 laps back. The 55 will be 10th, the 33 4th. Only Porsches up there really, 9 of them in the leading 10. As for Larari, Parja and Gouye, they finished second, 8 laps back from the winners. We'd rather forgotten about the 4x4 Porsche Meccan Ballolena. It's still there, and it dragged its 1,150 kilos round to the finish in 7th place. It was an interesting experience, and René Metz underlined that before the start. We have no pretensions of winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans. This is a Group B in IMSA because the homologation hasn't been done, and it's a car that in theory could drive on the road every day. At 180 kilometers an hour on average, the boss of Paris-Dakar and his associate Claude Ballolena, competing in Le Mans for the 21st time, will even finish in front of the first C2. Hans Stuck is on his way to victory, but before the start he had plenty to say about the new Mulsanne. And we can hear from him. First of all, I want to say that the old Mulsanne was better because it was a straight followed by braking, followed by a straight and a corner. Now, there are 2 corners and it's very difficult to overtake a car when you're on the first corner, and it's also very dangerous. I don't know why the traffic can't be shifted to the left to leave us the straight. I don't understand. Well, he did rather well in the new Mulsanne, didn't he? The curtain falls then, and bravo to Hans Stuck, 35. It's his first win at Le Mans. Hats off to Derek Bell, he's 44 and victorious for the 4th time. He joins Pescarello and Jean Debien on 4 wins. And to Al Holbert, already victorious 3 years ago. 1986 then, definitely a vintage year.